In this video, I'm talking about 5 proven ways that you can be more creative starting today. You don't want to miss it, so stick around. Welcome back, my name is Jack. Thanks for tuning into the show. Today we're talking about 5 ideas on how you can become more creative at home. Now, you know my goal here on the channel is to help creative music makers get better at making music at home. And if that applies to you, make sure you stick around to the very end because I've got a special extra tip that I'm going to be throwing at you, and it's not what you might think. It might surprise you, so you don't want to miss it. With that being said, let's get into the tips. Tip number 1 is actually to, you know what? Hold on a second. That's better. So tip number 1 is super simple, but it's something we might not think about a lot, and that is just to get up and move and change locations. When we work day in and day out, especially with creative work, and we do it in the same spot, we tend to get tired, it feels mundane, and it's hard for our brain to pull creativity out of our environment. You know what? This isn't really doing it for me either. Let's try again. So this is definitely more like it, but the idea here is that just by changing space and moving and getting to a different location, you can pull inspiration and creativity out of your environment. So if you're starting to feel more stagnant, I definitely recommend picking up, grabbing the gear you can, and trucking out somewhere else. Man, isn't it gorgeous outside? If only it wasn't 30 degrees, I'd shoot the whole video out there. But it's cold, so I'm back inside. And we're on to tip number 2. Now, this might be easily overlooked, but it is so important and so helpful, and it really can do wonders to increase creative output, and that is to find someone with similar goals and interests to collaborate with. I'm sure you've heard it before, but I can't think of an easier way to open up creativity, brainstorming, suggestions, 2 minds working together, bouncing ideas off each other. These are all great benefits that you wouldn't have working by yourself. And if you complete a project with someone else and they have their own following, it's a great way to open up your productivity and creativity and your content to a new audience who then can become your audience. So great idea. Number 2, find someone to collaborate with. They don't have to be huge. Just find someone who's similar to you and your style and your size and go with that and then work your way up. All right, moving on to tip number 3. That's going to be to create obtainable but challenging little projects and goals that you can work towards that aren't necessarily your main focus. Now, example of that would be for a producer, I did a week where I made 1 song in an hour every day for a week. And because I gave myself such a limited amount of time to work on those projects, I already understood going into them that perfection was out of the question. So once I allowed myself to look at it that way, I was no longer affected by perfectionism. I was no longer trying to make the best song in the world like I often do every time I sit down. I was just having fun with it and trying to work quickly. So setting small, specific, narrow goals or projects or challenges to help you work on specific elements of your craft can really help you become more creative when you do finally go back and work on that main piece of content. Hit that like button if you too enjoy coconut water breaks. Can you hit the like button so I can buy more coconut water? All right, idea number 4 is to actually buy and regularly keep daily logs in a journal. And I recommend doing it within the first 30 minutes of waking up. Like, I like to leave this on my desk. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll come over and I'll jot down free-flowing ideas for 30 minutes. You could also do it in your phone, on your laptop, whatever works. But the idea here is you want to do it right after bed, because when you wake up, you're still kind of in that dream state and your brain is just kind of free to spew out ideas, and a lot of times it can be some of your most creative work. So definitely recommend some sort of way to journal on a daily basis, not only about your feelings, but about ideas. And the idea here is just sit down, start writing, don't stop, don't go back to fix errors, don't spell check, just get it out. All right, we're gonna wrap it up with tip 5, and that is to use new or specific pieces of equipment or software to work on a project. For example, this is a great little synthesizer, and it finds itself played on a lot of my recent music. But if I were to create a project where the entire song had to be made using only sounds from this keyboard, that would make things a little more challenging, and I'd have to find new and exciting ways to be creative rather than turning to the same plugins or samples or sounds for my drums, for my leads, for my chords, for my bass lines, whereas I'd have to figure out everything I could on this. I mean, you might be able to use your own samples, but you can always record yourself hitting it or tapping on it or doing some kind of field recording-esque kind of sampling thing as well. But anything you can do to narrow down what you're allowed to do to force your brain to think outside the box will really, really help boost your creativity, and I recommend it. Now we're going to be moving on to my 6th and final tip, and I told you this is going to be a bonus one. Before we get to it, please subscribe if you haven't yet already. Please like this video. I need you to like every single one of my videos and subscribe if you haven't, because I have so much content that I want to bring to you, and I really want you to be a part of that journey. I'm open to suggestions and comments. Let me know how I can improve and get better, and how I can make my videos more valuable to you, because that's why I'm here. All right, the 6th and final tip is actually to read more fiction novels or books. I've never been a huge reader myself, but the few times that I have forced myself to sit down have really made an impact on me. And the reason for this is with today and the technology that we have, it's very hard to force our imaginations to work. I mean, movies are so realistic, video games are so realistic, the computer graphics and the sci-fi stuff is just so realistic that our imagination doesn't even have to do anything anymore. But if you really dial back and you dive into a book or something like that, and you spend what I would recommend like an hour every night before bed reading, it forces your brain to use those muscles that we use every day to be creative. So I really do recommend that. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those were my 5 plus bonus 6th tip on how you can be more creative at home and become a better artist or producer or musician. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and it brought value, please leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, feel free to dislike, but let me know in the comments what I can do differently to improve. I want to further that conversation with you and let you know that that's open, and I'm open to feedback. I'm new to this and I really do want to improve, so anything you can do to help me out would be greatly appreciated. Thanks again. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next upload.